If you're worried about promoting your first pro wrestling card and you're concerned that you're getting it all wrong, we're going to talk about 7 card killers. We're going to break them all down, and it's coming up next. I'm Mike Quackenbush, and this is Till We Make It. If you are passionate about professional wrestling and you're never done learning all about it, then you've landed in the exact right place. What are you waiting for? Go ahead and join the Till We Make It tribe. Subscribe right now. Today's video was inspired by a few messages I've gotten, probably in the wake of a couple recent videos here on the channel about launching a new pro wrestling organization and common concerns and anxieties people have that they're going to screw it all up, that all-important first event is not going to go well. And yes, there are a couple things out there which can kill your card dead. But I want to go over those 7 wrestling card killers with you so you feel confident in taking that first step, in taking some action, in finally launching your pro wrestling organization. Ready? Number 1, with a bullet, is this one. Avoid any direct competition. And although I bet you could have thought of this one on your own, you'd be amazed how many pro wrestling promoters out there get this wrong. If the WWE is bringing a live event into that same town on the same date, do not try running opposite the industry leader. This is an absolute wrestling card killer. And while I'm using the WWE here as an easy example, I mean any direct competition. If there's another wrestling company running the same region on the same date, you don't want to handicap your ability to draw a crowd in by dividing up the available customers who are willing to spend disposable income on an independent wrestling card. And thinking about the WWE for just a second, they publish their tour schedule at least half a year in advance. So just do a little bit of diligence to ensure your card isn't going up against any direct competition. This second wrestling card killer I want you to avoid can get a little tricky, so listen carefully. There are 2 types of indirect competition I want you to avoid. So one type of indirect competition, just as an example, would be if there is a major sporting event in your market scheduled for the same day, or a carnival's hitting town and it's only going to be in town for 1 week only. That is indirect competition. Let's say a really popular musical artist is bringing their tour to town and there's 1 tour date in that market. These things represent indirect competition because they're also competing for people's disposable income. But there's a second kind of indirect competition you need to be wary of. So let's say this Sunday, AEW is delivering a premium live event that people are going to be streaming all over the world. Even if the wrestling card you're going to be promoting is in Vancouver, British Columbia, some 5,000 miles away from London, England, where AEW is going to be presenting their card, it still represents indirect competition. They don't need to be in the same market, city, or region to represent a form of indirect competition to your card. And make no mistake about it, that type of indirect competition will absolutely impact your attendance. Before I break down this next one, I need to ask for your help. My goal this year is to reach 100 patrons over on my Patreon. And every single Monday, I publish an exclusive video that only my patrons ever get to see. There's more than 150 of these exclusives now. Recent ones included topics like building and fostering in-ring chemistry. I just did one all about outlaw shows in wrestling, and I have one coming up about a wrestling faux pas that will kill your bookings if you make this mistake while networking. And that's just a very small sampling of the 150 plus Patreon exclusives that are awaiting you over on my Patreon page. Please follow the link down below in the descriptus. And if you're in a position to help this channel continue to grow, you want to help me keep this a weekly feature here on YouTube, please consider joining our community. We would love to have you. This third one can absolutely kill attendance at your wrestling card, so avoid relying solely on social media to advertise your event. Now, yes, there is some benefit to leveraging social media, but imagining that only promoting through those platforms will be enough to fill the house is a real mistake. People are increasingly tuning out marketing messages that are disseminated through social media. So as you put together your marketing plan for your card, your first or your 100th, make sure to include some traditional and grassroots marketing in that plan to make sure you don't fall into this trap. The fourth wrestling card killer I want you to avoid is this. Don't book a venue that is completely inaccessible by public transit. Because no matter what country in the world you are promoting your wrestling card, what region, what state, what province, what city, whatever, there's going to be a percentage of the potential customers that want to see your card who depend on public transportation. They're going to need to take the train, hop on the bus, grab the subway in order to make it to your wrestling card. And if you choose to hire a hall for the day, if you rent out a venue that is completely inaccessible to public transit, you are handicapping your ability to draw a healthy crowd. Don't skip this fifth one. Get the bureaucracy right. You know what I mean by this? In many states, in many cities, there is a type of permit or license you have to obtain from a governing body in order to make your wrestling card legal, for it to be legitimate, to not run afoul of the local government systems. Like here in my home state of Pennsylvania, I have to be licensed by the State Athletic Commission in order to put on wrestling cards. And if you just skip this step, if you pay no mind to the bureaucracy, you are setting yourself up for stress and for trouble. Here in the United States, there are athletic commissions which can fine you hundreds of dollars for every infraction when you don't get the bureaucracy handled in advance of your wrestling card. And in an extreme case, you as the promoter could even be arrested. Nothing kills a wrestling card quite like having the police show up during your opener. Take it from a guy who has been there. Hazleton Havoc 1996, hashtag never forget. A sixth mistake you've got to avoid is counting on the weather. Here's what I mean by this. If you're going to be promoting your wrestling card in a region of the world where every winter you get several feet of snow, and you've decided to put this card on in the dead of winter, you're taking a real gamble. Because a blizzard can kill a wrestling card dead. Not only does inclement weather impact the ability of wrestlers to get to your card and appear as advertised, but it also impacts your customer's ability to make it to the venue to buy a ticket. So counting on the weather to just neatly subside when you need it to so that your card can go on as planned, that's a gamble. That's risky business, my friend, and I don't think it's a risk you should take. Maybe I should have put this last card killer first, because this is one people just tend to overlook. Don't make the mistake of just skipping out on the site survey. And if you're thinking to yourself right now, Mike, what the heck is a site survey? Don't worry, I'm going to tell it to you. You're going to take a tape measure with you in advance of your card, and you're going to go and visit the venue in person. And you're going to check things like the ceiling height. Can the ring even be put up in this space? Is there a way to load the ring safely into the venue? I'll give you a tip here. If you're going into an old-timey theater where you're going to have to bring the ring up to a second floor using a spiral staircase, it cannot be done, my friend. It cannot. Are there private dressing rooms or locker rooms for the wrestlers to change? Is the floor of the venue level? You can't safely set up a ring unless the floor is level. So you have to go and check these things in person. Don't take it for granted that the venue is built to accommodate professional wrestling. And if you turn up the day of your event and only then discover that the venue is not suited to holding a wrestling ring, let alone the crowd that's going to show up that night, you just killed your card dead. Click on the video appearing on screen right now and you will jump into my playlist that is filled with knowledge about promoting professional wrestling. Or follow the link that's appearing on screen right now. It will take you to my Patreon page, which you heard me allude to earlier in the video. Help me on my way to achieving my goal of 100 patrons this calendar year. I will not reach this goal without you.